Welcome to the Cowboys Chronicles, the Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined, as always, here at Stonecloud by Jacob Unruh.
You have Stun Devils and Stonecloud on your mind.
Exactly. I got too many S words.
Also, what do I do with my hands?
Right,
Real quick,
exactly.
We got to do mics.
New technology. The
we
microphones
work.
I really hope so at this point. We're very, very much hoping that people are hearing what we're saying here. So we're here at Stonecloud once again, our usual midweek hangout. You didn't get to go out to Sun Devil territory with me, but you got to watch from home, and we'll get into your thoughts on the game since I didn't get to get them on the post-game podcast. I did do a post-game podcast. If you want to go hear that, me and Joe Masato, we discussed the game as we walked back to the car. It had cooled off. It was down in the low 90s by the time we
low 90s.
By the time we left the stadium at 2 a.m.
Fantastic.
So go check that out if you want to. We'll get into all of that, but we start, of course, when we're here at Stonecloud with what you drinking.
I am drinking a new version of their Neon Sunshine,
right?
Called the Neon Mimosa. I had to think about which one I got for a second.
Right.
There's 4 of them. They had 3 of them on tap. Neon Mimosa, which is kind of like a Boulevard Wheat Blue Moon a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little bit. It's really, really good though.
Very nice.
Because one thing they're doing is they're out of them right now, but they said they'll probably get more. A 12-pack of Neon Sunshine, 4 different variants. There's a Mimosa, watermelon, a Passion.
I can't remember the fourth.
The fourth one's not on tap. There's 4 of them anyways. I'm not doing a very good job promoting this. Sorry, Matt. But I think you guys should check it out because Neon Sunshine is one of their best sellers.
Oh,
absolutely. It's a great beer. One of your favorites.
Oh,
we talked about that in our draft recently.
Yes.
One of your favorites, but new versions.
That's correct. I was drinking regular Neon Sunshine last night. We talked about had some pizza and some Neon Sunshine. I went with another of the new ones. I went with the Neon Watermelon. I really enjoyed it so far. You can tell I've already I got into it a little bit pregame.
You didn't waste any time.
No, I was. You were busy setting up the camera. I was enjoying myself.
I had to do the work, and you get to drink the beer. That's how this
exactly
works.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. I might have to try that one before we get out of here.
Yeah.
But I got to pace myself. We do have to go do some actual work later. Talk to some football players. So
you just got to talk to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Want to, of course, promote our newsletter. We always want to remind you about that. The OSU Athletics newsletter. We're doing the majority of the writing for that. It's not always been the case in the past. For those who subscribe, we're glad to be more involved with what's going on there. And once you go check that out, subscribe. We got lots of subscribers that are checking out we write content specifically for this. So we're really proud of what we're doing there. So go check that out. Last week it was Labor Day. This wonderful place was closed so that their wonderful employees could have a day off. Yeah. No problems there, but we didn't get to record the podcast. No. We did a podcast, but no video like we always do, and all the usual events here. So no YouTube video, no comments, no score predictions. So with that, we're just drinking our own beers. But for next week, if you want to make a prediction so you can win a beer that we will drink for you, jump on the YouTube comments, throw in your score prediction for Oklahoma State, South Alabama here in Stillwater on Saturday.
Do I get an extra beer for my prediction?
Absolutely. Listen. You sent me a text after the game that allegedly showed a score I did not believe at all of 27-15.
That was my score prediction.
That went in the paper and on the website and all of that. I had to go verify it for myself. Yeah. I found it, verified it. I was in complete disbelief, but you did. Yes,
27-15 on the money.
Nailed it.
You should have to get me an extra beer for this.
Listen, I honestly, for that, I should buy you a 6-pack because like if you predict a score correct and it's 28-21, that's cool, but I'm not all that impressed. 15?
Yeah.
Who predicts 15?
This guy.
Yeah. All right. So I should buy you a whole 6-pack or when the new 12-packs come back when they've already sold out of them, but once those are back, I'll get you one.
I feel really proud of that. Like,
that was impressive.
I thought as I was getting ready to go to bed, I thought that score actually that sounds really familiar, and I was like, was that what I predicted? So I looked it up, and sure enough,
there it was.
That's what I predicted.
All right, so jump in with your score predictions in the comments, and we will drink a beer for you next week. All right, with that,
good luck beating me.
Yeah, exactly. don't even want to take him on at this point. with that though, let's get into what Mike Gundy. Oh no, let me get your thoughts on Arizona State just real quickly. Your kind of top line thoughts on the Cowboys' 27-15 win in the desert.
I'll make this short, abbreviated points here. No idea who the starting quarterback should be. I have a general thought in my head, but it's more opinion-based than fact-based, result-based.
Yep.
So there's no separation, but I think part of that is the way they designed their rotation. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, I keep comparing it to closer by committee in baseball, where all of a sudden it's like it's matchup-based in a closer by committee, right? So how do you prove anything in that? So that's where I'm at there. The offensive line needs to figure it out sooner than the third quarter or the fourth quarter, whichever game you're looking at.
Yeah.
They need to figure that out sooner. And feed Ollie Gordon.
Yes.
That man deserves the football a lot. He's playing out of his mind. I think the team has a different energy when he's on the field, too. And he's getting the ball and doing what he's doing. I feel like there's a different energy with Ollie. And then my final thought is, I think the defense is going to be all right.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say take me back to 2021 or even 2020 when they were really good during the pandemic season. But I think it's going to be all right. They've got a lot of talent there. I like the things they're doing. You got Colin Oliver way more involved than he was the first week when I didn't even notice him on the field 98% of the time. So I think the defense is moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I said this in the press box at the time, so obviously you didn't hear it, so I'll say it to you now. It felt a little bit like year 3 Jim Knowles, where like there were some early mistakes, a little bit of chaos, and then they figured it all out and played really well.
Is that 2020?
Yes.
Yeah. The pandemic season, yep.
Exactly. Felt a little bit like that. Mm-hmm. We even saw that a little bit in 2021, but they were more capable of clamping down a little bit more quickly, I think, that year.
Yeah.
They
clamped down usually after the first or second series. Right. That was it. That was your chance. The only time I think they really struggled, and that was Texas.
Right. Yeah.
And that was Bijan Robinson, who scored a touchdown in his NFL debut. So I think
exactly. Yeah. So that's sort of the comparison that I'm drawing with this. It feels like they're more advanced. I definitely think they're more talented than they were Knowles' first couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I think that scheme-wise, they're a little bit farther along than they were with him as well. So I think that's a promising situation for this defense. We did visit with Mike Gundy earlier today. As you mentioned, he's no closer, just like the rest of us, to figuring out who his quarterback is. And I understand why fans are panicking and bothered by that. But I really don't think it's certainly not the top line issue with the offense. Mm-hmm. And the way the guys are playing, I don't think that it's as significant a concern as people are making it out to be.
There's no one playing poorly out of the three.
Right.
Like there's not a quarterback that's struggling mightily.
And imagine if they had blocked for the run game the way they did in the second half at Arizona State all season, this offense would have probably doubled its point output, even with the 3-quarterback system. Mm-hmm. Blocking is going to be the biggest storyline for this offense all season, regardless of what happens at quarterback. They've got to feel comfortable because they do have 3 right now. A year ago, they had 1 and had to force Rangel and Gundy into action. Mm-hmm. So you've got to feel comfortable with your depth there, whoever it ends up being, whenever that ends up happening. It's obviously not going to happen this week.
Probably not next week, is the way Mike was talking.
Maybe not for the Iowa State game, which is a little bit tricky. You're going on the road in a Big 12 game. That's a little bit nerve-wracking. But I don't find the quarterback issue near as concerning as a lot of outsiders' fan base really seems to.
No, I think the offensive line is your biggest concern right now. It's still their biggest concern. And quarterbacks, I mean, maybe 2 or 3 on the list, but I just think offensive line is the biggest concern when you look at how they've struggled to get going. Got to get more physical, but they still weren't physical enough, I thought.
Right.
You know, that's a Power 5 team. They got to go after, and they got to get physical this week because South Alabama is going to come in and try to hit them in the mouth.
Yeah, they are. And they've been pretty good against the run. Now, they played a weird mix of teams. Obviously, Tulane is solid. Maybe not as good as we thought they were going to be. They had a rough one against Ole Miss the other day, but
without their quarterback.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to know exactly what to think of South Alabama, but there are a lot of veterans, a lot of guys that have played in meaningful games in their careers. So they know what they've got to do to slow this team down, and they're going to do their best to do it. So that's far and away, it's not even close in terms of the level of importance to this offense. So that said, we'll see. You hinted at this. You have a gut opinion on who you would go with. Let's say you're in Mike Gundy's shoes right now, and you feel like regardless, not necessarily the competition's over, but you've got to pick a guy right now. You feel like you need to do that. Who are you going with at this moment?
You're gonna put me on the spot, aren't you?
I'm gonna give you. I'll give you mine too.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you mine too.
I lean towards Rangel.
Okay.
And here's why. I think he's taken a big step forward from last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of it. And I think he looks, not that anyone's looked uncomfortable. I think everyone's looked pretty comfortable.
Right.
I just think he looks more comfortable. His throwing's been very crisp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the interception was not on him. He got hit as he was throwing. Bad blocking. We talked about the offensive line.
Yeah.
He has not had a very good offensive line till late there tonight.
Right.
And I thought he came in and played well. That's where I lean a little bit because he can run a little bit too. Mm-hmm. He's not as fast as Gunnar, but he's faster than Bowman.
Yeah.
I think he's got a better arm than the other two right now. Maybe Bowman, maybe not, but I think he's a little more accurate. I think like Bowman's been a little off at times. Mm-hmm. I just kind of go towards Rangel right now. But I also feel like I'm splitting hairs a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because as Mike says, picking one's really, really hard right now.
Right.
But I kind of lean that direction.
Well, and the thing that I like about what Gundy said today, and he harped on this a couple of times, is what reason do you give the other two?
Yeah.
What do you go to them and say, here's why you're not the guy?
Yeah.
It's really impossible.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this. I very slightly lean Bowman over Rangel. I think that what he has been able to do, I do think he missed a couple of passes against Central Arkansas, also had some drops. Yep. So I think that's hurt his completion percentage because of both of those things, both his fault and not his fault. But I feel like what he's been able to do, he's the only one that hasn't had a run game.
True.
But he's played the first half both times when they haven't run the ball at all. I didn't add up the rush yardage during his fourth series on Saturday, but it wasn't much because at halftime they were at dead zero.
Yeah.
So not much in the run game either time that he's been on the field for his total of 8 series, and he's still been productive. He's thrown for yardage. He's completing passes still at a high rate, still over 60%, even with the miscues and the drops. So I slightly lean him. I've been really impressed with Garret Rangel and the growth that we've seen from him. I watched him in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl and thought that Oklahoma State was in for a disaster.
Yep.
And he has really emerged as a legit Big 12 quarterback. Now, I don't think either one of us are downplaying what Gunnar Gundy has been able to do.
No, Gunnar's been great.
He has been. But he's the opposite of Bowman in that every time he's played, they've had good running.
Yeah.
So he's benefited from that, and I think that's helped him.
And I had someone ask me this, a family member asked me this, why did they run the ball better with Gunnar in the game? And I said, well, the offensive line blocks better, but also Ollie Gordon has gotten the ball, and this is no knock on Jade Nixon or Elijah Collins, but I think Ollie can create a little bit more than those two when he gets the ball in his hands with some poor blocking. But Ollie Gordon's gotten the ball more when Gunnar's in the game, than the other quarterbacks. Yeah. And so I think that's been a benefit as well.
Two games in a row now, both games this season, Ollie Gordon has had 2 carries in each first half, which blows my mind that they're not trying to establish him early and give him a chance. Obviously, they feel comfortable with all 3. I think they all 3 do things well. I was kind of starting to think that maybe Jaden Nixon was falling behind, and
he had a great night there tonight.
Yeah, he ended up having a really big run there in the third quarter that was key. I think it was on one of the touchdown drives, but anyway, it was a big run, really important moment. Elijah Collins has been really strong. Pass blocked really well. He and Ollie, I thought, both pass blocked really well. So I think that's an important factor in all of this. So that said, I feel like they're really good with those 3. They got to keep all 3 of them healthy, But with those three guys, they're in really good shape at running back as long as they can figure some things out on the offensive line.
Yeah.
On the defensive side, you mentioned Colin Oliver. Gundy talked about some young guys that got some experience. I was really surprised. Jaleel Johnson was a guy who just a redshirt freshman.
He didn't play the opener.
No, didn't. And then ended up playing, I think, 14 snaps, which is not a ton, but it's really important.
It's a good amount.
And he looked really good coming off the line. He's a long, lanky guy. And you know, I wrote about him back in high school. They talked a lot about his first step, his ability to get into the backfield quickly. And I think that showed a little bit. Deshaun Brown from Choctaw, another redshirt freshman who mixed in a little bit last year in some unique situations, but he's played a decent amount the first 2 games and is a little bit more of a bull rusher type of guy, big and physical, and really overpowered some people, got into the backfield and looked good. You add that to what you've already got up there. A guy, you know, I think Nathan Latu is playing really well. I think
playing great.
Anthony Goodlow is playing really well. Walter Scheid has been good. Your defensive, your nose tackles have all been pretty solid. You had some freshmen into that mix. You know, Aiden Kelly got in some at nose tackle. You add those young guys into the mix with this, and you really have pretty impressive depth across the board in that 3-man line. I think that's going to be really important for this team as they continue to go, especially into Big 12 play. What else from Mike Gundy's chat today that stuck out to you?
I just I thought his quote, and I led our takeaways of this today. The quote of their luck's going to run out in the run game if they don't block better. Or we talked a lot about that.
Yeah,
really stands out to me. I think his talk about, and we talked about South Alabama's physicality. That stood out to me, how physical. And he says South Alabama is going to be the best team they've played to this point.
Yeah.
And I actually believe it. That's the team when I was looking and I was breaking down the schedule, looking at best case, worst case, things like that. I was like, South Alabama is actually a team that's really scary.
Yeah.
And so that stood out to me. We didn't talk about South Alabama enough probably today, to be honest.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah. We got really deep into quarterback talk and the difficulties of making that decision and all those sorts of things. So, I'm very curious what this team is going to look like. Now, they beat Southeast Louisiana last week. You know, they hung with Tulane for a while, ended up losing that one. So I don't know exactly what to think about them. So, you know, we talked about Tulane. It's hard to know exactly how good they are right now. So real hard to judge them, but they have a lot of experienced guys and guys that aren't going to be in awe of the situation when they walk into Boone Pickens Stadium. They've got one guy that's been in Boone Pickens Stadium as a recruit, with Damian Webb, their running back, who's been a really talented player. He's averaging 7.6 yards per carry. He
averaged over 11 yards per carry last week.
Yes, exactly.
He had 7 carries, I think, or something.
Right.
And it was insane.
Yeah, but
played 3 series.
Oklahoma State was recruiting him very hard when he's coming out of Jones College. He played there 2019, would have been the 2020 recruiting class. Ends up going to Florida State, spends a year there, didn't work out, ends up back at Jones for another year, and then at South Alabama for this year. So, small guy, bowling ball type, 5'7", I think 210 is what he's listed at.
They keep playing these bowling ball types. Like, they didn't have bowling ball in Central Arkansas, but they were small guys you couldn't hardly tackle.
Right, yeah.
And then, I'm blanking on his name.
Scattaboo,
that's what it was. I could not pronounce it in my head. Scattaboo was a bowling ball, and now you got this guy. So
exactly.
They're getting the test with these bowling ball running backs. So.
Yeah, it really tests their tackling abilities because they are physical guys and also elusive guys. So,
sorry, Scattaboo reminded me of Jalen Warren a little bit.
A little bit.
I can see that.
There
was a little bit of Jalen Warren there. He's going to be pretty good for Arizona State.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to be talented, and I think Rashad is going to be really talented down the line too once he gets speed under him. And
we got to worry about that because they're coming to the Big 12,
exactly.
So we got to watch
Big 12 opponent for the rest of his career. So, but yeah, so I'm very curious to see what this South Alabama team looks like in person. I had my eye on them really since late last year when they started kind of catching some national attention, and you saw how many guys they were going to have coming back. Really experienced team. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Listen, in my preseason predictions where we picked each game, I picked South Alabama to win this game. I don't think I'll do that this week.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a different approach at that point, so I'll probably stick with the Cowboys. But that 9.5 point spread feels like a lot of points in this.
That was a lot. I want to double check that again. That was a lot. That was the initial thing I saw.
Yeah, and
it seemed like a lot.
The line could move as the week goes on. So we'll see what happens there. So other things from Gundy, other than his breakdown of his son Gage's batting swing.
Oh yeah, we got that from him off to the side.
Little film room.
Yeah, got to watch
Gundy's.
Mike's phone there. Some Gage Gundy swings. His swing's much improved, by the way, for those curious.
He was looking good.
It looks really good.
Video we saw.
He's at a baseball academy in Orlando. He looked like he was looking really good there with the swing. No, I think it was pretty routine today. A lot of quarterback stuff still.
Yeah,
and defense too, which we don't need to do too much in the defense. I think the defense is moving in the right direction. Gundy does too. I thought it was interesting. He was asked if they could lean on them like they did in 2021, even last year at times, and he says he doesn't know yet, which I think is a fair assessment because you're still learning what this defense can do. They're still opening the playbook. They're still moving guys around. They're playing a ton of people.
Yeah,
which I think is going to calm down at some point.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm still not 100% sure because the way Gundy's approaching things, if they will calm that down, but I think it's going to calm down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that they rotated some young guys in just to make sure they're getting them some experience. It's been fascinating, some of the scenarios that they've had those young guys in. There's been some important moments when they've got a lot of backups on the field. For instance, the 65-yard touchdown was watching the film, I don't know the defense well enough to say who busted, but there were some young guys in the back end, and some backups.
Ty Williams is on the field then,
right?
Instead of Kendall Daniels,
in place of Kendall Daniels.
And the one we're not pointing at him. I'm just saying that was one that jumped in my head that was on the field.
Right, exactly. So they even without Justin Wright, they were still running a full second team of linebackers. With Gabe Brown, the Stillwater product, coming in as the backup middle linebacker. Obviously, he's the third string guy.
Though I will say Nick Barton, I thought looked fantastic. That was another one I should have pointed out at the beginning of the podcast. I thought he looked great.
Between him and Colin Oliver, and obviously I think Xavier Benson is much improved from where he was a year ago, and it gives that whole linebacker core a really versatile group.
Yeah.
So
It's not Devin Harper and Malcolm Rodriguez back there, but it's pretty good.
It's pretty solid, and I think that the tackling is going to continue to improve. I was very intrigued by the fact that Gundy said after the game that after the tackling struggles in the opener, went back to tackling in practice and being more physical in practice. And we talked to Nick Martin, and he got into talking about that it was very different. It was much more strenuous on the body than the way that Mike Gundy explained what they had been doing. It's not full tackle to the ground all the time. Much more physical, and the guys definitely felt it. Now I don't think you can do that over the course of the year, but Gundy said today they'll do that this week, and he wants to continue to see improvements in their tackling. I think that's going to continue to be the case. So. All right. Anything else from Mike Gundy today?
No, I think we're good. We've got players this evening, so we'll check back in with them.
Exactly. Looking forward to that. We get to visit with DJ McKinney, who I've been really impressed with what he's done in a backup role.
Yeah.
Cale Smith was a guy at corner that we were hearing a lot of buzz about during the preseason. Kenneth Harris was a guy that being the transfer from Arkansas State that I thought might get himself in the mix. McKinney, as just a redshirt freshman, is a guy who sort of thrust himself into that role, and he's played a lot both weeks. Played I think 45-ish snaps a game, somewhere in that range, and he's holding his own. He's playing really well. He's tackled well when he's had the opportunity. So, very curious to see how he continues to progress as a young guy. But between he and Cam Smith on one side, and then Corey Black on the other, I think the cornerback position has really been held down pretty well so far. All right. Well, then is it time that we move to the Stonecloud six-pack? I think it is.
It's time.
All right. Very good.
What we got today? I don't think you even told me. I have no idea.
No, I
literally no homework on this one. So
exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah, legit no homework this time. Because normally I at least tell you.
Yeah, no,
and then you just ignore me.
I do ignore it, yes.
But this time I didn't even tell you. So
not a clue. I was thinking a second ago. I was like, wait a minute. I have no idea today what's coming at all. So this is fun.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. Very good. First question here in the Stonecloud six-pack: over or under 4.5 yards per carry for the Oklahoma State running game this week.
Ooh.
That's always been the number. 4 to 4.5 is where Mike Gundy always.
And they're
points.
at 4.6 right now.
Yes.
As on the season, because I just wrote that. So 4.6.
In that case, I'm changing it. I'm changing it right now. I'm typing it right. Over or under 4.6.
Oh, we're changing it. Okay,
yards
perfect.
per carry.
Well,
it's a tough one.
I think I'm going to go under.
Yeah.
Because I think South Alabama is going to be good enough up front.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been really good against the run and not very good against the pass.
Right.
So I think I'm going to go under.
I'm honestly right there with you. I think this team's gonna force them to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And put some pressure on those quarterbacks and on the receivers. Yeah. But I think the receivers are gonna see some one-on-one matchups and be able to do some things out there. I'm gonna also go under the 4.6 yards per carry. I almost went last week. We did 149.5 yards for the game.
That's right.
Would you have gone under that as well, I assume?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a challenging week for them to run the ball.
They're going to have more than 0 yards at half, I think. I'm almost positive on that.
That should have been the question I asked.
That should have been. Yeah.
Will they have positive?
I would have still had to think about it for a second.
Right. Yeah. All right. Now this is a repeat question from last week, but I think it's still important. And as much quarterback talk
I
as
don't
we
remember
had,
last week's question. So perfect.
as much as we talk quarterbacks today, I still find it intriguing. Will any quarterback play more than 4 series in this ball game?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I said after at the end of the game they owe Garret Rangel one.
Well, so maybe he gets 5.
Maybe so. But so I think
he just kneeled on his last series.
Yeah,
right?
His last series just took a knee a couple of times and headed to the house. I think he gets the first one. Then you start your next rotation.
Yeah.
Now, this is not one of the official questions of the Stonecloud 6-pack. Do you think Gunnar Gundy starts? He's the only one of the 3 that hasn't started.
I do. I think you give each of them a shot to start.
Yeah, and I think you send Alan Bowman to the back of the line.
Yeah. Also, on a different topic while we're on this, how about Garret Rangel coming in after having basically, I don't know, what he played 2, 4, 5, 5.5 quarters off, 5 quarters off?
Right.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's like building extra days of rest for a pitcher.
Yes.
To come in and throw. Like I was like, man, it's been a long time since he's played. It felt like forever.
Right. Exactly. It sort of was.
Yeah.
All right. Last of the OSU football related questions of the Stonecloud 6-pack. We saw Larry Rawls get the first interception of the year. We talked about interceptions last week. But who is next in line? Who is the next Oklahoma State player to get an interception?
Next in line.
You can't say Jason Taylor.
Man. I miss Jason just for the answers alone.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a random one. Not random. A surprise one. Ty Williams.
Ooh, very interesting.
He's getting enough play that I think Ty Williams.
Okay. Good deal. That's interesting.
Because it was none of us would have picked Lyric Rawls. We didn't even come close to picking Lyric Rawls.
No, not at all.
So I'm going to go with the unexpected again. I'm going to go with Ty Williams.
All right. I'm sticking at the safety position.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one guy on the defense that's played every snap of the season, and that is Trey Rucker.
Yeah.
Now, he's had his moments. He hasn't always been perfect, but he is my next pick for an interception from the Cowboy defense. All right. That brings us to the second half of the Stonecloud 6-pack.
Sorry, everybody.
Yes, exactly. Got to be able to access our research that we've done for the last 3 here. The draft. We are drafting the best movie quarterbacks.
All right.
You could say that if we were starting a movie quarterback team, this would be our 3 guys that we rotate 4 series at a time.
Yeah. So no TV shows though, right? We're not going to include TV shows.
Now I didn't research any TV shows. Okay. I suppose I could allow it if you're really committed to but more than one.
Could be.
No more than one.
Okay.
No more than one.
I could be.
All right. Well, I am a nice guy, as we've established on this podcast. So I will let you have the first pick.
I want to make sure I get the names right. That's the problem, is remembering the names.
Right, exactly.
I can picture people, but I can't remember the names. I don't know. This may be awful. Well, I'm going with Shane Falco from The Replacements.
That's solid.
I love The Replacements. Mm-hmm. It's a good movie. It's fun. Keanu Reeves is awesome, as it's been well established by people. And I think he's a really good quarterback. And I thought he was a really good person in the movie. That's what he's supposed to be. So I'm going with Shane Falco.
All right, that's good. He was. I will say this: I got about 6 or 7 guys, and he was on my list. He was not going to be my top guy. Actually, my top guy, I'm gonna hold on to because I think I can sneak him into the second round.
Okay.
And I'm more worried about my second guy, so I'm going to go ahead and take him right now. I'm taking Johnny Moxon.
Oh,
Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues. Okay.
Your reaction tells me I could have held off and gone with my first guy, but that's okay. That's all right. I'm a big fan of Varsity Blues. It would probably be top 3 favorite football movies of all time for me. Big fan of Johnny Moxon, so I'm going him with my first pick, even though he would have been number 2 if I was just ranking my guys.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of like in a fantasy draft when like other people start picking tight ends, and you're like, oh, geez, I got to go get.
I got to get a tight end now. Oh gosh, yeah. Well, Johnny Moxon was the way I left on mine. I'm going to go with Willie Beeman from Any Given Sunday.
Big time good.
Because I really like that movie, first of all.
So
and he was so good. So I'm going with Willie Beeman because it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx was incredible in that role. I'm Willie Beeman.
All right. Cannot argue with that pick. That's a great one. My second pick, I'm going with Paul Blake. Do you recognize the name at all?
Paul Blake, no.
You were pretty young when this movie came out. It was an early '90s movie. Necessary Roughness was the name of it.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I really ever watched that.
Yeah, really good movie. I highly recommend it. But Paul Blake was this old quarterback that still had some college eligibility left, and they're putting together their ragtag team, and they bring him back to be the quarterback.
Okay.
It was. I'm pretty sure I was in junior high at the time, so it would have been. You would have been pretty young for that one.
Okay.
But I was. It was a very inspiring story to 8th grade me, that was getting ready to go into my first year of school football.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And I was like the 5th string quarterback, and so I was very much inspired by Paul Blake.
That's fair.
All right, your final pick.
I'm going with Sunshine.
Oh,
Remember the Titans.
Oh man.
For one, I just love singing Sunshine.
Right. Yeah.
Sunshine. I love that. But also, he's really good.
He was great.
I loved watching that part of the movie and what he did, and so Sunshine's my third pick. I will stick with the movies. We could talk about the TV one I had in mind after, but I will stick with movies, and I will go with Sunshine.
All right.
Don't ask me his full name. It's just Sunshine.
I don't even.
But that's what I'm going.
Don't even know. I had him on my list as well. It only said Sunshine. I couldn't even tell you. Excellent pick. I was if I had thought if I'd gotten that far in my head, I probably would have bumped him up a little bit higher because I knew I could have snuck Paul Blake in later.
Yeah.
He would have been the top of my list, but really good pick. So that pushes me to another early '90s movie, Frank Cushman. Cush. Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah.
Played by Jerry O'Connell.
Yes, that was one. Okay, yeah, he was
just a fantastic character. Obviously, it's a different kind of football movie. It's focused on the agent, not the actual football.
I'm gonna fully admit I never watched Jerry Maguire all the way through until like the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah, okay.
Never watched it all the way through until then, but I still remember the name. But yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, loved everything about that character, and it's a great movie too.
It's a great movie.
All right, so who was your TV guy?
I was actually kind of torn. I love Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Okay.
Love it. Matt Saracen. Love Matt Saracen. Also love Vince Howard. I was a little torn. But I think I would have leaned Saracen a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I like the underdog ability of that a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But Vince Howard was really good. He was the better player. He was the best quarterback in the whole show.
Right.
And so I think, I lean that way a little bit, but I lean Saracen. So I think.
All right. That was
torn a little bit. So.
All right.
If we had 5 rounds, I might have taken them 4 and 5.
That would have been good. I'll be completely honest. I fully expected Uncle Rico to make your top 3. I thought he was coming off the board in the 3rd round.
When I saw him on the list of people Google, I was like, oh man, because Ashley and I, whenever we travel, if we go to Colorado, we look at the mountains, we say, but I can throw a football over them in their mountains, just like Uncle Rico, did Napoleon Dynamite. So
exactly.
So it was very, very tempting,
to
pick Uncle Rico, but couldn't do it.
I hear you. I
had to take Sunshine. If Sunshine's on the board in the 3rd round, you got to take Sunshine.
And listen, we've got to get that nickname to catch on for Zane Flores.
We do, yeah.
That blonde hair coming out the back of that helmet.
Yeah.
I love it.
I almost considered too Adam Sandler's character in The Longest Yard.
That's funny because I considered Burt Reynolds' character in the original Longest Yard.
But I love that Adam Sandler Longest Yard. I always liked it. So I almost considered
Fully
it.
agree.
I saw people have the quarterback from Waterboy on the list. I couldn't tell you who the quarterback was.
Yeah, no clue. No.
It's the Waterboy. It's a linebacker movie,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
a quarterback movie. Who cares?
No, exactly. Same. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. Remember to subscribe to the Cowboys Sports newsletter at the Oklahoman. And remember to drop your comments with the score prediction in there on the YouTube video. We appreciate all of the viewers/listeners. And we will talk to you after the Oklahoma State-South Alabama game on Saturday. We'll see you later.